Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Samantha Russell from 20 over 10, and today we are so excited to talk with you about social media and specifically really just going back to the basics of social media, how to use different platforms, which platforms you would want to be on depending on what types of prospects that you're targeting, and then the best practices for using all of them. So the first thing I want to make sure that everybody here walks away understanding is that there are no such thing as silly questions on these webinars. So if there is a question that you've wanted to ask, but you felt like I should know this or that seems really elementary, we are here for you today to answer all of those questions that you've never got the answer to before. So joining me in the background, I have Amanda Larson from my team. So she will be manning our chat and our Q&A box. So a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions that you want only Amanda and I to see, you'll want to go ahead and put that in the Q&A box. If there's something that you think would be beneficial for everybody here today to hear or learn from, you can go ahead and put that in the chat. So to start, I would love it if everyone, because we do have spring break around the horizon and the end of winter hopefully is near, if you could let us know if you have any fun travel plans for the spring or summer while we're just letting everybody else sign on for a second. Anybody going anywhere fun? I am headed to Jamaica, an island I've actually never been to in the Caribbean, in 2 weeks, and I'm very excited to head there and check it out. So if anyone has any good Jamaica tips, we'll be in the Negril area. Oh my gosh, Raquel Tennant said I'm from Jamaica. I love that. I'm excited to go. So yeah, if anybody has any great travel tips, let us know. So we're gonna dive in here in just a second, and all of the slides that we have today, some of them have a lot of information on them, and I did that just so that you could go back and reference them. So we're not going to go through every slide in depth. I'm actually going to be pulling up Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and showing you on the actual platform some things. But I do have a slide deck put together, and it has lots of great tips as well. So you'll have that made available to you, and we will send you the recording as well. Congrats to Christina. Christina said she's not going anywhere fun. She's about to have a baby. So that's way more exciting in a lot of ways. So congratulations to you. So while we wait for everybody just to finish signing on, I'm going to go ahead and launch a quick poll. And in this poll, what I want you to tell us is, what is the biggest challenge or obstacle that you face right now when it comes to social media and using it specifically to grow your practice as an advisor? So let us know what that is, and we'll give everybody a second here to answer the poll. And in the meantime, if you have a question already that you know you'd like us to answer, you can feel free to go ahead and put it in the Q&A box. I've already seen a couple coming in, and we will focus on answering those as well. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys one more minute to answer the polling question, and then we will end it. Okay, so it looks like the #1 answer that people gave was the challenge being resources, how to do this with limited amount of time and staff. And that is a very popular sentiment that we hear often. So hopefully we have some great options for you to handle that today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you guys can all see my presentation. And if you wouldn't mind, just let me know when you can see it, so that I know that we are all on the same page, and that everybody can see it. And we will go ahead and get started. Ken said traveling to Hawaii after tax filing season. That's very exciting. Okay, everyone can see my screen. Great. So we will go ahead and get started. So I already went through the housekeeping. Just in case this is your first time joining us for a 20 over 10 webinar, we offer this as an educational environment. So once a month, we do an educational webinar on a variety of topics, and they're free and open to any financial advisor or really anyone who wants to join. So if you are not subscribed to our mailing list, you can do that on our blog, and then also feel free to connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn and I'd love to connect with all of you there. And at the end of this presentation, I've gotten a lot of requests from people wanting to know more about our newest platform, Lead Pilot. So I can give like a quick 5-minute overview of that at the end of the call today, if that's something some people would be interested in. Just raise your hand. I won't unmute anyone if that's something that you guys would like me to do. And if there's enough interest, I can, stay on and do that. We also are going to have a demo of our Lead Pilot platform that is tomorrow at 3 p.m. So we can always invite you to that as well. Okay, so today what we are going to discuss are the misconceptions and the hurdles to using social media, the most popular platforms and the audience makeup of each, specific nuances for each platform and what you should be aware of, and then how to get the most engagement from the content that you are posting. So when we asked this question recently to advisors, what's the number one thing that frustrates you about social media? A lot of people gave similar answers to things that you all were just talking about today. I don't have time to do it, or I don't know how to get engagement, or compliance is a hurdle, or I don't have enough followers to make it meaningful. So we're going to address many of these things in our presentation today. So the number one thing that we'll often hear is that using social media is just a waste of time, that there's not enough ROI. And I totally get that. We all are running businesses and we have a limited amount of time. There was a recent study, you can see in the stat here, that talked about the average asset gain of advisors who are using social media. But I think the most important way I can illustrate the success of this is to look at an individual advisor story. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with Anthony Ruffalo, or maybe he's even on the call today. He is an advisor that I've connected with on LinkedIn, didn't know him before LinkedIn. So I'm going to share a little bit about his story with all of you. So he's a certified financial planner. He works and operates under LPL, and he specifically works with equity compensated individuals. And he just got started on LinkedIn really last year. So his very first post was only February 18th of 2019. And he had 3 views on that post, and that was it. But he really wanted to do an experiment to see, how posting to social media, specifically LinkedIn, he really went all in on that one platform, could make a difference and what kind of ROI it would provide. So he wrote 307 posts last year in 2019. That is a lot of content, right? That's almost one a day. But he went from 300 to almost 2,000 followers in that same period, right? Not using some sort of spamming tool or anything like that, but organic growth. And his average views went from, in July of, just a little over 6 months ago, 550 views on a post to 2,200 views on a post just in December. So in like a less than 6-month period. He also said that it's produced the largest growth in net new assets in 10 years. And he's added 8 new households, all from just posting on LinkedIn. And I put an example here of the type of post that he would have. So you can see he's using emojis. He's talking in a very real talk kind of environment. If you check out his social media profile on LinkedIn, I think that's a great place to go and, get some inspiration. One of the things that I love about him is he does do he calls it rough talk because his last name's Ruffalo. He'll be very straightforward and candid, and I think people really respond to that. And that's the personality that he's wanted to develop. So the number one takeaway I think from his story is, number one, if you are posting on social media, you're probably not posting enough. And we're going to talk a little bit about how often you should be posting, but everybody needs to get in the mindset that daily really needs to be the mantra running through your mind. You need to be posting a lot in order to see good results. And that's just because social media is a feed. And as soon as you post something, it starts to go stale, right? So in order to keep that momentum up, you need to post a lot. And we'll give you some good insights in how to do that. And the second thing is that you need to be authentic. And if you go and you look at his profile, which I'll pull up here in a minute, you will see that there are certain posts that really are very candid and in your face, and that's okay. That's his personality, and he wants to attract a certain kind of person, and he's doing that with his page. So when we think about social media and in the context of all the other kinds of marketing we can do, one of the things I want you to think about is the amount of time that people are spending with media today in general. So this was a report that Nielsen did in 2018. So this is already a little over a year and a half old. So I'm sure these numbers have even increased. But if you think that the average person sleeps for about 8 hours a night, hopefully if we're all that lucky, you don't have any babies at home like me, then that means you're awake for about 16 hours a day. The average adult over 18 in the United States is spending 11.06 hours a day with media. And that's a ton of different things you can see down there, right? An app or a web on the smartphone constitutes over almost 2.5 hours of that time. And a big piece of that is social media apps. People are spending a lot of their time on their phones, on their devices. And so if you want to be seen and be heard, you need to go where they're already spending time. This is another study that the Bank of New York Mellon Pershing did, where they looked at 1,000 investors and they asked them, where are you going to find investors and research them? And you can see here, the top places that people mentioned were Google, LinkedIn, the SEC advisor search, and then Facebook and Twitter and these other social sites, right? So you, again, want to have relevant, timely information in the places where people are going to search for it. That same study also found that 1 in 3 investors have checked an advisor's Facebook page, and over 50% of them decided to not work with the person they were looking at over something they saw on the page. That is just astounding to me, right? And so, again, being authentic, make sure everything that you're posting to any of these platforms really reflects your value proposition and the type of person you want to work with, that end client. And, you know, one of the things that's really difficult is that there's a lot of people out there who will say, oh, we'll fill your feed for you with content and with social media posts. But because they need to be very general, it could end up having pieces of content on there that make someone think, oh, you know, they're not going to be a good fit for me because they're posting about, you know, which credit card's the best to use or buying your first home. And that is not the type of client that, or not the type of advisor that I'm looking for. So you really, really want to be aware of that when you're posting. Okay, so we already did that poll. So just a couple things and then we're gonna hop into more specifics. Just keep in mind again that social media is not going to just happen. It's gonna take time to grow. So if you were on this call today looking for quick fixes to get from 300 to 2,000 followers overnight, it's not gonna happen, right? But we did see from that example I showed you that it can happen in as little as a year, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of time. It is a reliable way to grow your business and to create traffic and generate more, you know, noise about your company, but you have to build an audience in order for that to happen. Okay, so before we talk about how to do that, let's just talk about what platforms in general you should be on. And I have a link to this blog post that we wrote with very specific information about each of the platforms and like the big takeaways. But here's my general rule of thumb. Facebook is where you go if you want to target pre-retirees and retirees. That is where they have all flocked and all of the younger people have moved to other platforms. People who are, you know, going there to check out pictures of their grandkids. 50 and older is one of the largest growing user segments on Facebook. And it's also Facebook is the largest platform by use of those 50 and over. Twitter, a lot of you might not need to ever use Twitter. Twitter is really the place to go and to have an account if you love to connect with other journalists, you want to connect with other advisors, you want to talk about best practices. It's really not a place you're going to go to get clients for the most part. I can't even think of a single story of an advisor who's gotten a client from Twitter. If one of you has, I'd love for you to tell us your story in the comments. But that has not been the case in what we have found. So that is really a place you're going to be active on. Again, if you want to connect with other advisors, you want to have a pulse of what's going on in the industry, and you want to, you know, get featured in articles. So it can be a great place to, you know, be seen as an expert so that then, you know, CNBC quotes you. LinkedIn is where you're going to want to go if you're really focused on people in their working years, which is a huge percentage of the population. And we find that a lot of advisors report LinkedIn to be most successful for them. YouTube, I think every single one of you on this call right now should have a YouTube channel. I think every business should have a YouTube channel. YouTube is the second largest search engine after Google. People go to YouTube to search for things every day. And the statistics about people, 50 and over who are using YouTube, it is a growing platform. People go there to search, how to unclog a toilet, how to file their taxes, a million different things. And there's people there to provide that information. And it is a great place to build a following. And if you're not comfortable writing a lot of content either, it's a great avenue because you can record yourself using a tool like this. So we're on Zoom doing a Zoom webinar. You can use Zoom to record your screen and also record yourself and give a tutorial or talk about something, and then upload it to YouTube and really make it super educational. And then lastly, Instagram. I know a lot of advisors, if you're affiliated with a BD, are not using Instagram because there hasn't been historically an easy way to monitor it. That is changing, and we're seeing more adoption there, and certainly a lot of independent RIAs. Instagram is where all the people who left, Facebook flocked over to. So it's highly visual content. The average age of the user is going up month after month on that platform. And so the biggest takeaway I think with Instagram is there's a huge opportunity there. You just need to be able and willing to put time and effort into making high quality imagery to then link back to your post, right? So on Instagram, you would, for instance, use a tool like Canva to make an image of something, and then make that image your Instagram post and then link back to your blog post. So those are like the overview of each of them. Again, if you want to get more information specifically on this, we have this post here, what social media platform should advisors be on, which Amanda has linked to. And we have like the key takeaway of each one, and also the stats for each. So that would be where I would suggest. Before I switch gears here, I'd love to know from all of you, which platform are you right now doing the most on and or seeing the most success from? So I've run into a lot of people not yet using Twitter. So which platforms are you guys currently on, and where are you seeing the most success in all the platforms? Somebody asked how you spell Canva. I have it in our tools slide as well, but it's C-A-N-V-A. Oh, and Amanda just linked to a blog post we have about that. It's a free tool you can use to create all kinds of social media graphics. I can just show you really quickly here. So, you come into Canva, and here's a way you can do it, right? They have all these different templates that you can use, and you can create very, very easy all different imagery for your social channels. So they do have a free option that's really robust, and you can also have team options as well. Okay, so let's see what people are saying. Most success on Facebook. Tom, you're awesome. You got LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Anybody else have YouTube? I love seeing the YouTube shout outs. If you have a YouTube channel that you currently post to, please drop the link into it, because we would love to check out more advisors' YouTube channels and take a look at what people are doing that's successful. And a lot of people aren't linking to them from their website, so we're not always aware of it. Jennifer said Facebook because we can boost our posts. And I do want to talk about that. If you are targeting pre-retirees and retirees, Facebook is a phenomenal platform to do that because of their ad network and how easy they make it for just a few bucks to post something that's boost. And by boost, we mean pay, right? So their boost option is you throw a few dollars behind something that is already performing well organically. That means you haven't paid anything for it. And then you can say, okay, for 50 bucks, I want Facebook to have this as a sponsored post for the next 2 weeks and see what kind of traction you get. And you can get some very, very good results that way. Okay, I'm gonna look at the questions really quick again before we switch gears. So, okay, somebody just asked or said that Serena said, we got approval to open an Instagram account through our compliance. Should I open a business account or a advisor account? What do you recommend? In general, across all of the platforms, I recommend that you're going to need to have both in certain circumstances. And that is because people respond and connect better to individuals than they do to a company. So a couple examples here, and I'm going to go through these more and more. So I'm on Twitter right now. This is Katie Brewer. She's a CFP affiliated with XYPN. Her company is yourrichestlifeplanning.com, but her Twitter is her picture, her name, right? People are going to be much more likely to interact with a human being than they are a brand. And we even see this here at 20 over 10. 20 over 10 has a Twitter account, and then I have a personal Twitter account, and I will often get way more interaction when it's me versus it's just the company. And that makes sense. We all like to interact with other human beings. So having the accounts in your own name is really good. For that engagement. On the other hand, though, if you have a company, you still want to claim those company accounts for a few reasons. Number one, you're going to be able to create that backlink to your website, right? So on this about page, you'll have information. And when people are going to look up your company and they Google search it, you want them to see your LinkedIn page and some of those other things. They might search Sequoia Financial Group and not search Samantha Russell. And if they are searching Sequoia Financial Group and they don't have a business page, that's a missed opportunity to not be found. So you want to make sure that you're claiming your company pages on all the accounts, but using your own personal account often will yield better results in terms of engagement. So keep that in mind. And the same would apply to Instagram or anything else. You also, though, should be aware that on Twitter and Instagram and these different platforms, if you do register as a business, you get more detailed analytics than you do if it's a personal account. And some of them, you don't get any analytics if it's personal, right? So if you are on, LinkedIn here, I can just show you. So we come to the company page for 20 over 10, and we can see at a glance, analytics of who's visited the page, how many times was it updated, where did those visitors come from, all kinds of things. The same thing would apply to, company pages like on Twitter. And you can see here, we can go in and click the 20 over 10 Twitter page, and we can see under our, just move this out of the way, analytics here, all kinds of analytics that you might want to know is like, how many tweet impressions have you gotten? How many profile visits? How many mentions? What's your most trending content? And you can see all that at a glance month over month. So you're not going to get that if you only have a personal account. So I really recommend having both. Okay, keep the great questions and the content coming. Denise, I'm going to click on your post that you put in here just because I'm interested to see. So Denise posted, we post a ton of business content, but it was this post that was most successful. So let's just look at what she put. Oh, Larry sprung. Okay, Larry's been working with our team at 20 over 10 to launch a new website. And this is how I spent my Super Bowl Sunday afternoon, 12-year-old's goal. I love this. Yes, so this is a great example, right? That Larry's an advisor. He's posting a lot of content that is going to be specific to financial planning or what he can provide. But a post about your kid, getting a hockey goal is always going to get people excited and happy. And, now pay attention that this isn't necessarily to his company page, although it might be, but in this case, this is on his own personal page. We can see 51, likes and 41 comments. Thank you for sharing that, Denise. That's awesome. And some new clients that they got were hockey families. So I love that. Okay, so we're going to keep going through a couple more things. What about compliance? I think a lot of you understand that compliance is something that we have to pay attention to, and it's just part of the deal. The number one suggestion that I can give you is make sure you have an archiving tool in place. So with our new tool, Lead Pilot, everything you deploy through Lead Pilot is archived. But if you're not using Lead Pilot, maybe you use something like an Archive Social or Global Relay already. That's great. You want to make sure that things are archived so that in the case of an audit, you are covered. If you need to submit things in advance to compliance, which I know is a real thing that is, par for the course for many of you. Do it in bulk, right? Like if you need to post a lot of content, then you should be getting in the habit of sending them maybe 30 posts at a time to review, so that you have them ready to be scheduled and sent out, and make it easy on them, that you are not saying anything that's going to need really a lot of scrutiny. As Denise just showed, a lot of times the content that is the most impactful is stuff that doesn't even need a compliance eye on it. The other tip I just want to make sure that everyone is always thinking about is anytime you add a new social platform, you need to include it in your Form ADV. So you have to list out any accounts that you're controlling on any of your social profiles. Okay. I don't know why that popped me out of there. All right, so when and what should I be sharing? The number one rule that I want you to be thinking about is the 60-40 ratio rule. So what I mean is that on any of these social platforms, you need to actually be social in order to be an active part of the community and get other people to do the same thing for you, right? So 60% of the time, you should be engaging with other people's content, leaving a comment, responding to a tweet, commenting on a Facebook post, liking something, resharing it. 40% of the time, you can be posting your own content. And the content you post of that 40% of the time, only a small percent of it should be very self-promotional, right? Maybe like 1 to 2%. Everything else should be educational or inspirational or motivating or funny. People just don't want to hear about what you have to sell all day long. You can do it every once in a while, and that's fine. But the majority of what you post should be educational and informative in nature. And so again, what do I mean by engaging with other people's content? Liking it, commenting on it, sharing it. An easy way to see this on LinkedIn, I love that they do this. If you pull up your LinkedIn profile, and I've highlighted it here, but I'll just do it here for you all in real time. And so you click home, and then you click your own profile, and then you go to posts and activity. Do you see right here where it says all activity? That is where you can go to see all of your activity, right? So posts would just be things that you yourself have posted, all of your own posts. Articles would be just the articles that you've posted specifically to LinkedIn. And then documents would be any of like the slide shows or anything like that you've uploaded. But this all activity will give you a bird's eye view of anytime you've commented on something, anytime you replied to a comment, anytime that you liked something, it will give you all of that information. So you can take, a very high level approach to see, am I going and being proactive on other people's accounts enough or not? And this is also my LinkedIn, Samantha C. Russell. If we're not connected already, send me a request. I can see some of you are doing that right now. Would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So that's how you can do it. But on the other platforms, you just want to keep that ratio in mind. And you'll start to know if you're just pushing things out and not being social yourself in other ways, right? So that's the first rule of thumb. The second is, how often should you be posting on each of these platforms? So these are general guidelines. Of course, you want to just make sure that you are providing good quality posting. Don't post for the sake of posting. But here's some general guidelines that people can agree upon, usually other marketers. So with Facebook, once a day is what is suggested. Twitter, up to 15 tweets is what's suggested, with 3 being low and 30 being high. And that's because, again, a tweet is like a blip on the radar. It goes away so fast unless you can get some traction on it really quickly. On LinkedIn, once a day is suggested. This is being pulled from data from a third-party marketing company. I actually don't think that more than one a day. So they have one is suggested and no more than one a day being high. I actually don't always agree with that. So I definitely think one a day is a great cadence. But if you have a personal account, not your company page, but a personal account, I think you can post up to 3 times a day and be okay. Again, as long as you're providing value with what you post. With Instagram, they suggest 1 to 2 posts a day. And then with YouTube, They suggest posting 1 video a day, which I think we can all raise our hand and say that's, for most of us, never ever going to happen. We find the sweet spot for us is once a week on YouTube. So we post a video once a week. It's like a 2 to 4 minute marketing tip video. That's really quick and easy. And then we also post these webinar replays and some other types of content to our YouTube channel. So I would love to know from all of you, how often are you all posting, and has anybody seen a direct correlation between posting more and then getting better results? Because I'd love to see that. While you all comment on that, so I can read the comments and see that happen, I'm just going to pull up our company page really quick.
Any time in the last couple of years.
So this is the 20 over 10 page, and you can see if you subscribe, every week we send out a new quick video that gives you insight into something like SEO, or how to record a video on your phone was one I just did, how to add video to your website, all kinds of things. I'm in the process of trying to get more faces from our company to get on camera with me. But in your company, it might be something similar. Maybe there's just one person who's comfortable being on the camera like I am, and so you really make them the face of your YouTube channel. And then you can bring other people in as time goes on. But you can see like this video right here, that was made using a tool called Loom, L-O-O-M, and it allows you to auto record whatever you have up on your screen at that time with the click of a button. So see this little icon right there? That's my Loom video recorder. So I click that and it starts capturing both me in a video camera as well as my screen all at the same time. So that is a great tool that you can use for that as well. Okay. Somebody said when I was posting on Facebook daily, I was getting a lot more engagement, but I have trouble keeping up with the schedule. Totally get that. JD Carlson. Oh, hi, JD. Glad that you could join us. JD said LinkedIn 1 to 2 times a day. That's how I know JD really, is through LinkedIn. And I see your posts a lot because you do post frequently. And, you know, I started an experiment about 12 months ago myself, where I started being very bullish on LinkedIn and trying to post up to 3 times a day. And it made a huge, huge difference in everything for us. I mean, even just the total number of people saying, I love the, you know, educational content that you're putting out. Can you tell me more about working with your company? And that's really what you want, right? People know if you're talking about something and you're sharing expertise in something, that you have a service or a product to sell related to that. They're not stupid. You don't need to bash them over the head with it. That's why they call it inbound marketing, so that they can come to you and when they're ready. Okay, so how do you do that? How do you actually provide content that is of value that people would actually want to read and engage with? Here is a couple quick tips. Again, this is in the slide deck, so you don't need to screenshot it, but think of this as every time you post something, your post should have at least one of these elements, if not 2 or 3. So this example from Dave Zoller, if you don't follow him, he is awesome. He shares tax reduction tips specifically for entrepreneurs, and he puts these awesome slideshows together, which I'll show you here live in a second. But on every one of your posts, think, can I include an image, a GIF, or a video? Can I ask a question? Can I ask people to comment below with something to get the post starting to get higher engagement? Can I share some sort of a story or include a slideshow? And then who can I tag, or what kinds of hashtags can I include to get the highest reach? So I'm going to just, you know, give you a couple more examples of that. And yes, Ashley, Loom is a free service. Just saw your question. So if you're not sure what hashtag, you know, to use, for instance, you can start typing in any of these platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. And when you start typing with a hashtag, they'll give you a bunch of other hashtags related to that you might consider using. So if you're not sure which hashtags to use, first you want to start by thinking about what are some popular hashtags, which ones might you want to use. So you can see here, you know, all different ones. Now be aware that often your competitors are using a hashtag. Like, I bet you if I click retirement planning, it's going to be a lot of advisors posting on this topic, right? Mostly that's what we're seeing. So you want to think about what are the consumers or the investors potentially going to be searching for, and what phrases or words would they be using to search for that. And the best way often to think about that is to look at what like larger publications are using because they've done the research. So if you look at like a TIA CREF, if you're, thinking about competing with them, but on a smaller level, look at what hashtags these larger companies are using and then steal those, use those in your posts because you know that somebody has already looked into them and that they're getting a lot of traction. So that's how you could look at the hashtags. That slideshow that I was mentioning before, so I'll just show you Dave's profile because he has some really great slideshows. And by the way, if you haven't done this already, on, for instance, LinkedIn, they have a great thing where you can put these featured sections. So you can actually highlight certain things, whether it's a webinar you've done or a presentation you gave or a slide deck you have, a brochure, you can upload it so that when someone comes to check you out for the first time, they see, all of these different featured images right there at the top. So let me just go to all activity. And if I go to documents, we can see some of the ones. So he's got, for instance, here's how a mental shift can lead to a permanent tax deduction. And as he clicks through, he's telling a story with these slides. And he does this a lot, right? This is sort of like what he's known for. So this is just PDFs. He's using probably a free tool like Canva to create an image. It's just a picture with some text over it. And then he uploads it and shares it on social media. And you can see, tons of engagement and comments. Another strategy that you can use that can work really well, and I will just pull up my own notifications to show you this really quickly. If I can get it to go. Yeah, okay. So like I posted something about the report that Michael Kitces put out about the most efficient financial advisor marketing strategies and the true cost to acquire a client. And instead of just saying, hey, so I explained in here that SEO was one of the ones that Michael reported was the lowest cost. So it barely cost people anything, $338 on average to acquire a client, but it was one of the least used. And so I said in here, we actually have a complete guide to how to use SEO to grow your business for RIAs. And then instead of saying, here's the link to get it, I said, if you want your copy, comment below, right? And you can see I got 76 comments on this post. The reason I did that is not just because I, want to make more work for myself that I have to manually send this to everyone, but because if I would have just put the link, people would go to the link. And yes, we can gate that and we can make them put in their email to download it, but then the social media post itself isn't going to get traction. And by traction, what I mean is the algorithm wants to see people liking and commenting on your posts. In their mind, that's good content, right? They want to put content in people's feeds that other people are excited to engage with. So if you can get people to comment on your post will stay in people's feeds a lot longer. So here, you can see people are saying, send me the guide, great. And then people are commenting, this is well outside the realm of reality. Here's why I think that, and I'm engaging in the conversation. When people are commenting on your posts, you want to get back to them as fast as possible and respond. But also, this is a great way that you can get people to engage with your post is to actually ask them, to comment and leave a comment. Another thing that you can do if you do have a profile on, Twitter, for instance, is, let me pull that up. You can do something that is also interactive here, like a poll. So I just had, let me find it right here. Okay, question, which financial industry publications or blogs do you most read? And Twitter only gives me 4 places to, or 4 options to list them out. So I listed 3, and then a ton of people started commenting saying, you should have listed Michael Kitces' blog, or you should have listed Investment News, which I probably should have. But it was also a great way to post something that got people commenting and talking, right? So you want to think about how do you get people to engage with what you're posting, and these are just some different strategies that you can use to make that happen. So while I'm here, this is my Twitter handle. So if you are on Twitter, I'm just at Samantha20. I would love to connect with you there too. Okay. So let's go back to some other tips. Oh, what did Denise just said, going back to some other tactics. Larry's headshot for an award he won on investing with others got a ton of comments. Yeah, I mean, anything that you can post that's a graph or an infographic or any kind of visual often will get tons of engagement as well, because there's data for people to dig into, right? And really have some connection with. Okay, so the last thing that I think a lot of people are, and by the way, these tips, I've got them all outlined in here again in the slide deck. I know a lot of you are asking specifically for the slides. So for using hashtags and tagging and what that looks like, here's Jeannie Fisher. She calls herself the 401k lady down in Kentucky, and she does a really great job of posting relevant content and using hashtags. So she's created her own hashtag, the 401k lady. So if you click on that, you'll see all of her previous posts, which I think is great. And you can do that. We've done that with Lead Pilot. If you click the hashtag Lead Pilot, you'll see all the posts related to that. So you can create your own hashtag specific to you, but it's also a great way to tap into what other people are reading. And if you tag people, you'll often get them to like or comment your posts. So for instance, if you get invited, if you focus on working with physicians and you get invited to go speak to a group of physicians, you know, at a local hospital, don't just say, thanks for having me today, you know, Memorial Hospital, but tag some of the people that invited you to be there, you know, and you just using that little @ symbol can tag them. So that's a really, really important way, an important strategy to do this. Another thing you can do that we do at 20 over 10 that makes a huge difference. So every Monday, let me just find it, we do a post called 5 Little Things for Your Monday. And we find 5 articles from around the web that we think that people should be reading, you know, from all different places. And then when we go to post this on Facebook or Twitter or any of those places, what we do is tag, right, all of those accounts. So I think you guys know where I'm going with that, but gosh, Twitter, it's really going to be buried since we post so much. So when you're posting on these platforms, you can, oh, here we go, right? We hope you had a great week. Now it's time to tackle these with articles featuring this. If you are really trying, like starting from scratch with a social profile and trying to boost followers, this is a great way to do it. People love to be quoted and mentioned and interviewed and, you know, other people talking about them. I've seen a really great strategy. If you're really entrenched in your local community, maybe you're, you know, in a small town in Iowa. I've seen an advisor do this. And he started every Friday posting what's to do in blank town this weekend. And he would tag local businesses, nonprofits, restaurants, different charity events. And they all started following him. They would retweet it, you know, recomment, reshare it on Facebook. And it was a huge, huge success in building his audience, right? So that is a really easy strategy that you can use to build followers. If you want to build your profile, you can't just share content. You really need to use hashtags and tag people. And being that kind of altruistic way, I mean, you're doing something great for other people and highlighting good causes, good restaurants, whatever, but it's a way to be seen more. Another thing you could do is, you know, if you maybe don't want to go through all that work, but maybe you go out to eat and go to try different restaurants in your local area anyways. Maybe every week you tag one of the restaurants that you're eating at and you give a shout out to them on social media. You know, people who now follow that restaurant, if they reshare your post, will see, oh, Russell Wealth Planning or, you know, Lighthouse Capital Partners, and they'll be like, oh, what's that? And click on it. So that is a great way to get followers. Okay. I'm not going to go into all of these different platform nuances, but we do have them here. Again, just the highlight of who you want to target and then specifically different things that you can do to build engagement on each of those platforms. YouTube is its own beast. I would love to know from people here who maybe are a little bit nervous about YouTube, if you would like us to do a YouTube specific webinar on like all the technical ins and outs, how we upload the video, how we caption it, how we transcribe it, how you could send it off to compliance. If a lot of people would find that beneficial, either raise your hand or comment yes in the chat box, because that is like a whole separate beast in its own. And we've learned a lot through trial and error. Okay, a lot of people are saying yes. So we will plan for that. There's a lot you can do on YouTube, and you can get views on YouTube, honestly, if you pay a little bit, for like a cent or two per view. So we will do that soon, and I'll probably invite someone else to come and join us too, who maybe even knows more than we do. So when you're thinking about what kind of tools you need to manage this all, I'm obviously sharing a lot, and it's a lot to do on your own. So when you are thinking about social media as part of your larger ecosystem and where you might need to get different things, this is just our tools to consider that we have in general. So one of the things you'll notice is that Lead Pilot is on all of these, which is intentional, right? As we were building Lead Pilot, we wanted a tool that, rather than having to juggle an email tool, a social scheduling tool, a landing page tool, a graphic generating tool, a content tool, that you could have one tool for everything. But that being said, if you're using some of these other tools, and right now you're not ready to make a change, these are the ones in these different categories that we would recommend. So this slide is in here as well. And this little GIF playing is just showing you our video library within Lead Pilot and how easy it is to add video to your landing pages and send that content out. So I will stay on and answer any questions that you guys have, and I'll go through the questions that are still in there. And then in the meantime, again, if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to our 20 over 10 YouTube channel, or follow any of our social media accounts. And again, if people want me to do a quick overview of how you schedule social media posts in Lead Pilot and the kind of content that's in there, a couple people said yes. I will do that here in just a second, and would be happy to answer any questions about that. So I will pull that up while I'm going through some of the other questions. Okay, Raquel asks, let's see, how do you feel about HubSpot? I've seen a lot of people have great success with HubSpot. I think one of the hardest things is that the price point can be, over $800 a month, and it doesn't include any content for you to use at all, and it's not specific to the industry. So we've gotten a lot of people saying Lead Pilot's like the HubSpot for advisors, and I take that as a huge compliment because I've been a HubSpot user in the past, and I think what they've built obviously is amazing. But for some firms, it can be almost too overwhelming of a tool, or the price might not be in their wheelhouse. Let's see, another question. What advice do you have for firms whose client base is mostly retirees with an AUM of over 500,000 who aren't on social media as much as millennials are? That's a great question. I think the thing to think about with people is that you're always going to have some people who are not on social media, right? But then you have people like my grandmother who, post to Facebook once a day, and there's going to be more and more people adopting that as the new generations come through. So the 50 and over, the 65 and over crowd now, those people, there's some of them that are just never going to adopt social media. But every year, new people are turning 65, and more of them will. So you want to set yourself up to capture people that are phasing into that stage of life, not the people who are phasing out. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to just do this, show you guys some of the things in Lead Pilot that some of you are asking about. So Lead Pilot, for those of you unaware, is a separate tool from 20 over 10. So we have our 20 over 10 website tool, which is websites, drag and drop modular approach to creating websites. You can hire us to do it or create your own. And then we also have some built-in content that you can use. Lead Pilot is a separate standalone tool that anyone can purchase. You don't have to be a 20 over 10 customer. You actually don't even have to have a website in order to purchase this tool. And it is meant to replace all those other pieces of your digital marketing tech stack. So you can come in here and upload any of your own content 100%. You do not need to use the content in here if you don't want to. Original content's always going to be best, and that would even be things like it adding in, a video. So if, oops, sorry, Davey, I don't know why that just happened. So let's say we have a video here that we want to add in, right? If you guys are just talking about, oh, I want to get, more on YouTube, or maybe you have a podcast, you can come in, pop in any of that content, quick as a button, have a featured image, whatever it is that you want to do. Or you can use the content that's in this library, which includes editorial pieces, infographic pieces, as well as video pieces. And all of these are here for you to use, but the best part is, in my opinion, that you can edit any of them. So you can come in here and you could say, okay, I want to share, something, let's just see, about retirement only. So we're going to just look at those. And we want to have 9 ways to save for your retirement if your company doesn't offer a 401k. And maybe we want to change that and edit this to be specific, to us. So we come in here and we'll click create draft, and now we can completely edit this article. Maybe we want to make it 6 points, or we want to delete some of the article, or I'm from Cleveland, so Clevelanders, 10 ways to save for your retirement. And you can put in keywords and phrases that are going to get noticed more on social media, right? Think about how many more people are likely to click on something if they see the location where they live, inside of that title. Sorry, my mind drew a blank. So you can change anything from the image. You could replace any of the imagery, who the author is, the title, all that good stuff. Again, we could come in and say, oh, we don't like point number 9. We're going to completely delete that. Now we only have 8 points, right? Whatever it is you want to do. Once you've saved it, you can preview what it looks like. So the reason you don't need to have a website to use this is that all of the pieces that you deploy from Lead Pilot are deployed on these landing pages where you have your logo, the name of your company. You can have all of these different calls to actions that you can edit, and then it reinforces you as the advisor. So if you have 10 advisors in your firm, they can each be sharing to their own social accounts through here, emailing their own lists, and reinforcing their own brand with their own landing pages. We love this part of the tool because for so many of you, you have your own niche of people you like to work with, whereas the other advisor in your office wants to work with someone else. And it can be really hard to have different messaging, right, for different audiences. And so this is a really great way to do that. And then when you're ready, you'll go ahead and click share. And now this is that social scheduler I was talking about, right? So now we're like, okay, we want to get this scheduled up. We're going to share it on Monday, March 3rd. And we find that things perform best at lunchtime. So we're going to share it at 12 o'clock. And then we can even come in here and see, okay, Lead Pilot will actually preload even like a little blurb for you. So you don't have to edit this if you don't want to, but you can see, remember I changed it to Clevelanders, 10 ways to save for your retirement. You can also edit this part, right? Like tip number 4 will blow your mind, whatever you want to say. You can tag people, you can, add hashtags, whatever you want. You can customize any of these. Then you can also, in the scheduler, also schedule out to go to different email lists that you have. So it's an all-in-one tool. So once you've got it scheduled, then you can go back, and over here, we can look at our scheduled posts and see everything that's in our queue, when it's planning to go out, which platforms it's going to go to, what time, all of that. So once you share things, one of the big, I know issues a lot of people have is, how do I know which platform is worth my time? What's converting? So you can actually see at a glance how many leads you're getting, conversions, impressions. This is the demo account, so that's why the numbers are a little low. But you can also see on this dashboard, one of my favorite things is how your content is performing at a glance against all platforms, right? So you can look at this and very easily say, okay, Facebook is the most successful for us. We're gonna really put in all our efforts and focus on Facebook. Or you might say, okay, let's just look at one particular piece of content and what's performing, best on one content, right? And see how that one particular piece of content is performing. So that's really great and something that we absolutely need. And then just really quick, again, if you want to see a full demo, we're going to have a demo tomorrow at 3 p.m. And if you sign up for that, the whole recording will be sent to you. so that even if you can't make that time, go ahead and sign up anyways. And we'll send you the recording so you can watch it when you are ready. And we'll go into much more detail. But as people interact with your content, whether you upload them yourself. So if you have a list of leads and you have a list of clients and you upload them into the system, you can import. This also integrates with Redtail, Riskalyze, and Wealthbox. Our system, through an AI-powered lead score, will assign a score to everyone based upon how engaged they are. And you can see at a glance, are they a client or are they a lead? So let's say somebody, their score jumps above an 80. Well, now you know they're a really good prospect for you and you should pay more attention to them, right? So let's say we see in here, you know, we want to filter by, oops, sorry. We want to filter by lead score. And we see, okay, Samantha's got a lead score of 100. She's a great prospect. I want to learn more about her. You can come in here and you can click on the history of just one person and see exactly what they're reading, what they're opening. So you know, you can send them hyper-specific content as a follow-up to that. But my favorite part is that you can actually click this button right here and get insights into that person. So even if you buy a list of leads, we use some tools to go across the internet and scrape the internet for any information we can find based upon what you have in here. So in this regard, just my email alone is pulling my name, my title, that I'm a woman, that I live in State College, Pennsylvania. It will pull known websites or social profiles, people's where they've worked, all kinds of stuff. You can also, you know, rate them and give the system feedback. So maybe somebody's lead score goes up really high, but then you realize, oh, that's not a good lead. You can give them, you know, a 1-star rating to give the system some feedback. And you can leave little notes and things like that, or add them to different lists. So it's a really, really intuitive tool. If you have Riskalyze connected, you can even send people hyper-personalized content based upon their risk score. So again, a way to schedule out your social media posts, get access to content, videos. You know, we talked about infographics and how much more engagement they get, right? Like, look at this one, the true cost of being a pet owner. I love this. It's got this great graph that has information about all different pets. You know, that's going to get a lot more clicks and likes and conversation going on social media because it's interesting. So I know that there are some people that have other questions. If we didn't answer your question yet, you know, ping us and let us know. I think we got to most of them. Amanda put the link for the Lead Pilot demo in for tomorrow. You can also just go, if you are interested in that tool, to leadpilot.io. That's our website that's live. Again, it's a separate tool from 20 over 10. And you can even get started, and there's a 7-day free trial. So if you just want, oh, I'm already logged in, so it's taking me there. But if you want to just log in and play around with it, you can, you know, see testimonials, get a demo, anything like that, you could do that. All of the slides that we have here today will be emailed to you along with the recording. And this is our contact information if you have follow-up questions that you would like to ask. But thank you all for participating, for asking great questions, for giving stories about, you know, what has been helpful to you. We will make sure to get that YouTube webinar set up. And we would love to know from you, was this a helpful webinar? No hurt feelings. We want to give as much tangible, practical examples and quick little insights and takeaways that people can use. So if there's something that you thought we did exceptionally well, please tell us, whether it was an example we shared that helped you illustrate something, or pulling up the platforms live and showing you the back end of them. It's always helpful for us to know what people found most beneficial. So thank you all so much, and enjoy the rest of your week. And hopefully we will see you again soon.